In this video, I'd like to take the opportunity to practice on a small office, home office, or an integrated router, switch, access point in configuring a pre-shared key with WPA2. Now, pre-shared key, fancy way of saying we're hard coding a password. So we would hard code that password on the wireless access point device, and we'd also configure that same wireless password on the client so it could connect. Now, one of the challenges that I think we might come across is if we practice in tweaking and changing the parameters on our own home office, small office routers, we might lose connectivity for a period of time while we're making those changes. Also, if we're in a production environment like a small office, home office at a branch, and we're changing parameters to practice with it, again, we could lose connectivity. So one of the really cool features I think we should leverage in this video is the feature of Packet Tracer once again, where we can build a network from scratch. We can make the changes, connect the client, see that it works, and have that experience. Because once we configure pre-shared keys with WPA2 a few times on different devices, it becomes very familiar. And the good news is we can take the skill of configuring pre-shared keys with WPA2 and we can apply that skill to multiple devices. So as we come across other vendors and other models of devices, the concept is going to be the same. So let's go to the drawing board. We'll make a plan of what we're going to implement, and then we'll implement it together using Packet Tracer. So let's use this as our plan. On the small office, home office with the integrated router, switch, and access point, let's set up WPA2 using a pre-shared key, and let's use this as the key. Now, as we go through, because this is an all-in-one device, there is going to be some information regarding DHCP and DNS and so forth, but our focus is getting the Wi-Fi working with WPA2. So let's go to Packet Tracer and set this up. So what will be helpful and useful is if you've gone through the short section of videos on Packet Tracer about how to get it, set it up, and get familiar with it. So we're going to start with a blank topology here. And on the bottom left, we're going to go ahead and click on Network Devices. And then below that, we'll go ahead and click on Wireless Devices. And let's just grab a home router. There's a couple flavors here. There's a WRT300N. There's the home router one. We'll just grab the home router. And boom, we've got Wireless Router 0. Then to configure it, we just go ahead and click on it. So let's go to the tab for GUI for this device, and our focus is the wireless security aspect in setting up this small office, home office router. So if we click on wireless, we have options for setting up the 2.4 gigahertz network and the 5 gigahertz networks. So for 2.4, let's go ahead and call this WLAN-24. And then if we scroll down, and let's configure the 5 gigahertz network as wireless LAN-5, and we'll call this -2. And we'll call the other one wireless LAN-5-1. And they are going to be enabled by default. We'll scroll all the way to the bottom and we'll click on Save Settings. Then we'll go back up to the top. And regarding security for these wireless networks, by default they're disabled, so we'll set up security. So for the 2.4 gigahertz, we'll click on the security mode and we'll select WPA2 Personal, which is using a pre-shared key. And then we'll supply the pre-shared key, which I'll use as Cisco !23. And we'll do the same for the 2.5 gigahertz as well. So we'll go to security mode, WPA2 Personal, scroll down a little bit so we can see it. And I'm going to just use the same password here for all three for this demonstration. And we'll scroll down a little further, 5 gigahertz -2 and WPA2 Personal, and we'll put in that password once again. Then we'll scroll all the way to the bottom and click on Save Settings. Now, before we configure a client to join this wireless network, I also want to take just one more second to take a look and verify that this small office, home office wireless router is also acting and enabled as a DHCP server to hand out IP address information. Let's go take a look. So to do that, we'll click on Setup and we'll scroll down a little bit. There we go. DHCP server enabled, and the address range is 192.168.0.100 through 149. That's great. So now let's go ahead and connect a client. So I'll go ahead and close this window and let's bring up a wireless client. So in Packet Tracer, I'll click on End Devices right here. And then over here on the right, let's click on Smart Device and we'll go ahead and put it right there. So there's our smartphone. And if we go to the details of that smartphone by clicking on it and then click Config, we can specify for wireless 0. We can specify the network we want to join and the pre-shared key. So I forgot what we call the network. Let me go back and look. So on the wireless router, if we open that up again and go to wireless WLAN-24, let's go ahead and join that network. So I'll minimize that. We'll go back to the smartphone. And here we'll say we want to join that wireless network, WLAN-24. And for authentication, we're going to use WPA2-PSK for a pre-shared key, and we're going to put in that pre-shared key of Cisco, bing23. And now that we've done that, if we take a look right here under IP configuration, hopefully it'll get an IP. There we go. So 192.168.0.101 is the IP address it got, and we have a visual representation of the connectivity right here. So if we go to the desktop for this smartphone and bring up a command prompt, let's do an IP config. And we should be able to ping our default gateway, which is our router/switch/access point. And we'll do a ping to 192.168.0.1. Bada bing, bada boom. And so for the connectivity between the smartphone and here, we are using WPA2. And we're using the password supplied on the phone that was also configured on the wireless router for the encryption of that traffic between the smartphone and the access point that's built into this small office home office router. So what have we done in this video? We've taken a look at how to configure WPA2 with a pre-shared key on both the router, which is acting also as the access point, and a client, so we can have wireless connectivity in the network. And I encourage you to practice with Packet Tracer in doing this configuration and getting that hands-on experience in setting up pre-shared keys with WPA2. So I'll see you in just a moment in the very next video. Meanwhile, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.